Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the June meeting of the Philipstown Conservation Board. I was almost thinking it was May.
Almost.
I did not have a chance to read the memos. I know Bob had gone through them and made notes. Are there enough people here that had reviewed them that we can make a motion to pass them? If not, we'll hold till July.
The minutes.
The minutes.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, so,
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't seen them.
all right, so why don't we just hold that off and we'll approve the May minutes in July? Okay. So the first order of business is going to be a violation Hudson Highland Reserve.
Yeah.
So, Max, I'll let you
Yeah,
describe it.
I mean, we'll just give a brief update to the board. I think the board's aware. I think we forwarded on images and a brief, did we send a brief synopsis of the activities we observed on the property?
I didn't
I
see
don't
it.
think we
Okay.
sent it to everybody.
So essentially, Andy and I walked the property, and we've been kind of keeping tabs on the property as things have begun to go down the road towards construction. The planning board and the town had initially agreed to allow the applicant to clear a certain portion of land per year that fell underneath the timber harvesting regulations and met Speedy's requirements, so they did not have to file a SWIP with the state or with the town. We felt that the applicant had gone beyond the scope of what they had essentially proposed. And so we have now engaged the applicant and their representatives, and we are currently moving in a direction to rectify the violation as they conclude their final stages of planning board review and full acceptance of the resolutions that the planning board has prepared that apply to this project, and then also finalize the conservation easement that will be held by the town and monitored by the town. So while I think that this is a little bit of a rocky start, I think this will get us to a good place, in my opinion, having this level of engagement, even if it's in this standing, to fully document the progress and the activities on the property as we move closer to construction. But we've been engaged with the landowner, their representatives, Beatty and Watson, and we are looking to meet with them this week with the town engineer, Andy, myself, Ron, and whoever's on their side, to meet just to go over final details on how to rectify the violation. So we laid out steps essentially that need to be followed to bring them out of the situation they're in. And that's basically where we stand now.
Will you have a schedule where you go once a month or someone goes once a week? I mean, how will you monitor it from here on out?
For the violation specifically, we've asked for certain benchmark stages and photo documentation to occur, and then to meet on the site with the applicant or the property owner and their representatives, and to be kept up to date and up to speed that way. Once the SWIP is filed and they have all the resolutions in place and can begin construction in an official capacity, then they're going to be required to do weekly stormwater inspections, construction inspections. That's going to be a combination of the town checking up on their professionals, who are the developers' professionals that are certified in stormwater inspections, to make sure that they're falling under CGP coverage correctly, so the town doesn't get put in a negative place through a stormwater violation. But yeah, there will be, and I don't know if you all want to speak to any of the details as well, but I believe that there's a significant escrow or bond being provided to the town for construction purposes.
There's a required deposit,
Yeah.
$45,000 to fund the town's engineer to make routine inspections.
Okay. So Ron will be doing the weekly inspection?
I expect it will be Ron, yes.
Okay. So that will be, and then beyond that, the details regarding easement monitoring and all of that, those have been kind of discussed and laid out in private conversations that we've had with the applicant and the town's representatives to figure out those details, so that we've come to.
There's other deposits. There's a monitoring deposit due annually of $18,000 to monitor the conservation easement. I just threw most of these things. There's a $4.9 million bond to assure there'll be funds to finish the construction should something happen. And there's one other one that I'm not. Oh, and there's the rec fee of $105,000, which is to offset the impact of the population on the recreation facilities of the town.
So, there's a lot of moving parts that are all kind of coming together now, right?
Yeah,
So-
they're coming together rapidly, yes.
So it seems, I mean, while it does seem like a very maybe violation is a negative term here, I think there is, we are trying to make sure that we've engaged you guys for a long time. I mean, Andy and I have been on calls with you for probably over a year and a half, just making sure that we're getting ahead of any of these potential issues. Because they're a lot harder to correct once they're done, if there really is something that's wrong. So we want to make sure that the town's kind of kept aware on every step, and, no one's playing games, any sort of like numbers game, essentially.
At your direction, we've just finished staking the limit of disturbance that as is shown on the plan. So when you make your inspection, you can see you can compare it. But at this point, I think it's necessary to have that meeting with you and Ron in order to take a more realistic look at what needs to be done in the field.
Sure. So I anticipate that happening this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic that this is going to work itself out.
It will. I am too.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. We'll follow up.
Okay, so we have a planning board referral, which is Sadove, and am I pronouncing this right? Zweibon? Zweibon. Okay, I'm close. And I believe the property is just south of the rec center, so I don't know if everybody is familiar with it. It's a flat parcel. It's coming to us, I believe, because of, it's within the, thank you. It's within the Hudson River View Shed overlay. Sure, if you. It's right behind you. So I guess our, I don't want to use the word concern, it's more that essentially you're going to be clearing forested area for the house and the septic system. And from what I can see, and I know the property somewhat, I don't really think you're going to be clearing enough where the house would be visible from the river.
You'd never see it from the river.
Right, that's my feeling, right? And you're, part of our venue as well is within steep slopes, and you're away from that as well. So, if you just describe the project to us, I guess we never love clearing forests, but
Yeah, it's far less than you think.
It's also, I wouldn't call it the most healthy forest that's existing there right now.
It's awful.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. So we're constructing, it's a single-family home, roughly 3,400 square feet of mostly single-story dwelling. There's an attached garage with a breezeway, and then a small, I don't know what you want to call it, pool house. The pool could be 10 years away. It's not really in the plan, but we thought we'd throw it in there just in case. Yeah, we've slid, I don't know if you were aware of the previous project that was approved there before we bought the property.
it's been a while.
Yeah,
I think
it's been
then the
maybe-
discussion was not only the overlay district, but there is a right-of-way for a historic,
The Benedict Arnold
trail.
Right. So they had, the existing, I guess, survey that Beatty and Watson has a ton of trees on it that don't exist, and they were removed prior to our acquisition. So we're only really taking away, I think I counted 26 trees. There's a handful more that are dead or dying, and the rest we're preserving or keeping and planting more, ideally. So that's pretty much it.
I mean, I don't know if the board wants to do a site visit or not. You know, that's, when is this coming before the planning board?
They have a public hearing on the 25th.
Which would mean if we wanted to do a site visit, it would need to be done quickly.
Did you mention that this property's already been reviewed once before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been reviewed. I mean, I don't want to prejudice the board, but I'm not sure a site visit is warranted.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the last time we had looked at this, we gave permission for the property owner at the time to even clear a building envelope. Yeah,
Good job.
yeah, so the majority of the tree clearing is already done.
What was the prior owner's name, do you remember, or?
Sadlon and Sadlon, and then another pre-code.
Yeah.
What was that? That's it. Yep. That's who we purchased from, and they cleared up about 100-something trees, I think.
Have we been to this site before?
I mean, this was before COVID, right? I can't.
It was before COVID. I know I was on a site visit with the planning board ages ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, where the building envelope is, it's flat. I mean, for Garrison, it's incredibly flat. And it's a relatively young, single-age forest of, I believe, predominantly red maple, which, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, the alternative is everybody, since it's very, very accessible, that's interested in looking could drive by and then send us notes and thoughts over the next week so that I can put together a short memo. But I personally don't see any area of concern here as long as, you know, best practices are put in place
Yeah.
during construction.
So you all saw it pre-COVID, you didn't have a problem with it?
No, I mean, as long as, I mean, the only thing I can think of is if there's any major changes to the last site plan that this is being, you know, built off
It's a
of.
different house that we're building.
Yeah.
We've slid it up slightly.
Yeah.
The driveway is virtually the same. Septic field we shrunk it a little bit, but it's in the same location.
The other house was bigger, I believe.
Yeah, it was like 3,800 single story. And it was closer to that steep slope as well. So we've slid everything for a little bit of a safer backyard for kids.
What's that discharge area where it says provide filter sock?
Is that gutter?
That's a gutter?
Let's see.
Maybe, I think I would just ask for that to be infiltrated, right?
Yeah, it's footing drain for pool house potential, proposed, yeah.
And at this point, the pool was proposed, right?
It's proposed, we'd build that barn, it'll be like a barn essentially, and then the pool's being proposed and not being built.
Yeah, I mean, typically, I don't think we would recommend discharge, like, we would say to put that into something that can be infiltrated instead of discharged down into that slope, into that ravine, to prevent erosion. Ultimately, I mean, it probably won't be a whole lot of water going down there, but, maybe that's a note we can put in as a change.
Sure, I agree.
And then I don't know, and then maybe aesthetically, I don't know, color, I mean, with the scenic overlay, is there,
Well, the scenic overlay is essentially predominantly looking from the river
oh,
up,
Okay.
right? And I don't see how, I mean, I'm
Even if
sure
you cleared the trees, you wouldn't see the
yeah,
house.
I'm sure you'd love to have a view of the river, but I'm not even sure it's possible,
No, it's not happening.
you know, without clearing onto the next landowner's property. You know, and we're also dealing with a single-story house.
yeah, okay.
Is this where that blue house was? They knocked down
No,
the blue?
no, there hasn't been a house
We're the
there.
lot just north of that,
Okay,
just north of Laws Lane, right?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll get a memo together to the planning board.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming in. Okay, next on the agenda is Walter Hoving Home, dam removal and restoration. So I'd like to do two things at this time. First is, I'd like us to hopefully adopt a resolution declaring this an unlisted action under New York State SEQA. And by making it an unlisted action, we're not, at this moment, approving a permit to do it. What we're doing is we're doing our part of a coordinated review. The New York DEC did their own review and looks at it as also being an unlisted action. So what Max had done is, and it was forwarded to everybody, is put together the environmental impact statements for the project.
Neg.
Right. So, and then what I'd like to do, hopefully we do pass this resolution, is then begin a preliminary discussion of what we're going to require from the applicant. And I'm assuming you're still trying to move forward in doing this project this year.
I don't think there'll be time, we can only do it April to September. I don't know if you want me to be in my, can only do it April to September, we're not gonna have time to do it. It's taken too long to get to this, so construction's gonna have to be next year. And we wanna start as soon as the season starts. So we're only allowed, I guess, through DEC and whatever the restrictions are.
You have restrictions on working in the stream bed as well as, I believe, tree clearing as well.
I think there's eagles, bats, the stream,
Right.
there's a lot of restrictions.
Right. Okay. So with that said, is everybody clear of what we're going to vote on right now? Right? It's just looking at this as an unlisted action. So with that said, I am glad to read the entire resolution if everybody would like me to, but I am sort of hoping, to make it easier on me, that I will get a motion to waive the full reading and somebody to second it. But I'm glad to read it. I'm pretty good at that.
Well, would it be nice for the record to have you read it?
You can enter it into record.
Yeah, we could also answer, but I'm glad. So you want me to read it? What would everybody like?
Probably read it.
Okay. This is a resolution adopting a negative declaration with respect to the Walter Hoving Home Dam Removal Stream Restoration Project. Whereas Walter Hoving Home Incorporated, the applicant, has applied for a permit for dam removal and stream restoration, the action, whereas the Conservation Board, the board of the town of Philipstown, is an involved agency. Whereas the board has determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617, New York CCRR, commonly known as SEQA, and is not subject to a coordinated review. Whereas the board has reviewed Part 1 of the Short Environmental Impact Assessment Form, and thereafter caused to be prepared the reviewed Part 2 and 3 of the Short Environmental Form, which are annexed hereto and made part thereof. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations above set forth are incorporated into this resolution as if it's fully set forth and adopted herein. The board has determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617, for which a short form EAF has been prepared and attached hereto. The board hereby finds and determines that A, it has considered the proposed action, reviewed all parts of the short form EAF, reviewed the criteria set forth in 6 New York CCR Section 617.7 thoroughly, analyzed the relevant area of potential environmental concern, and has duly considered all of the potential environmental impacts and their magnitude in connection with the proposed action. B, the proposed action will not result in any large or important environmental impacts and therefore will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. And C, the reasons supporting this determination are set forth on the attached determination of non-significance with respect to this project. And D, the board hereby adopts a negative declaration pursuant to 6 New York CCR, section 617.7 with respect to the proposed action. And the board authorizes the chair of the board to sign the negative declaration and determination of non-significance with respect to this project. And the board directs the town clerk to file a copy of said negative declaration and determination of non-significance in the town record. The resolution should take effect immediately. So do I have a motion to pass that?
I'll make that motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so I can sign that. Thank
So-
you.
And we'll finalize, so I'm just looking at the materials that were provided by Cheryl. We'll finalize the part 3, which is just, you
Yep.
need to sign that. And
Yep.
then, we'll take this out of draft form and, that'll be finalized as an attachment to part 3.
Right.
And this is this will be considered our neg deck at that point.
Thank you too for doing this. It was
Sure.
really good and informative and it just covered everything that, it's very thorough. And
So there was some back and forth, and I'm not sure we shared this with you yet, Beth, with SLR, who was working for the town as a consultant doing peer review. There were comments, a couple comments brought up by the public and some concerns that SLR had. The memo that we received this afternoon basically is in alignment. They believe that the concerns and the way they were addressed by Interfood meets muster of what the town is looking for. So you'll have to get back to us of when we should meet again on this project. A few things to be aware of is that we will require a full SWIP 100% for this project to be developed by a licensed engineer in the state of New York. We will also require monitoring by an engineer that's under your employ as well. You know, again, licensed in New York as the project is being done. We'll determine as we get closer what the interval should be. And the other thing that we discussed briefly is we are also gonna want to see, and I'll have to discuss this with the town attorney, the best way to do this is that there is the financial and resource wherewithal to complete this project. Because it is not a project that, you know, it's not like we've given somebody permission perhaps to build a large barn near a wetland and all they can do is lay the foundation. You know, it wouldn't be the end of the world. We'll just sort of stop there. With the removal of a dam, once we've removed it or in the process thereof, we need to know that the dam can be removed and that the channel has been redeveloped.
And we discussed that being in the form of type of bond,
Yeah,
performance bond.
yeah. So that's where we stand right now. I don't know whether anybody has any other comments. I mean, while I'd like to see the project move forward this year, I'm sort of relieved it won't be because I think
I mean,
we're sort of at the edge.
Yeah, we have to bid the contractors, so that's probably the next step, and I don't know if it's worth bidding on this year to start next year.
Right, no, it
So,
probably isn't.
yeah, so Interflu is just gonna have to kind of determine what the next steps are. I don't really think there's anything that we can do this year, except maybe start clearing out some of the staging area, but we could also do that in the February, March.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Max, you're probably even better at this than I am. I would almost say probably not, because then you're gonna need a SWIP for where you're clearing out, unless it's a tiny area.
I mean, I would get all of your ducks in a row now, and get all the permitting done and get coverage and we'll do our SWIP review.
How long is this permit good for? Because I've got another one I'm gonna have to renew, because we're waiting until next year. So how long, once you issue a permit for me, how long is it good for, before I have to come back to the board?
A year, but you can renew it,
Okay,
you can renew it indefinitely based on the code.
okay.
as long as you provide 30 days notice,
Okay,
and that comes with a renewal fee. But we wouldn't, I mean, what Andy's discussing is not issuing the permit now. We would wait, unless that's what you are discussing, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, for instance, if, you know, you told us, well, I wanna try to get this project done, then I would say that you need to come in with your interfluve and potentially an engineer as well that would manage the SWIP. And we would hammer out what would be in a conditional permit
okay.
that the board would be
So
able
if
to
I
vote
want,
on.
say I wanted to start in April next year, when should I jump in with y'all again? How long is it gonna take? Because if I jump in at February and I don't get the permit, again, I've got another year of waiting.
I would suggest doing it sooner rather than later. So, yeah, it would behoove you to do it earlier. You know, certainly by January, but perhaps earlier than that.
Why not just target the fall and say, you know, we're gonna get the permit by the, you know, at the end of the year, so that this way it covers for the whole year.
Okay, yeah, my concern with that is, I don't think contractors can, well, we'll figure it out. I don't think contractors are gonna wanna bid it 6 months in advance to get brought onto the project without starting.
Well, we're not concerned, the only area that we will have some oversight on is I think we'd like to see whoever the selected contractor is that has done this type of work before. But past that, we're really dealing with interfluve and what other engineers would be involved.
And they need to be New York State.
To
Yeah.
file a SWIP in New York State, you have to be a licensed engineer in New
Yeah.
York State.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, vis-à-vis, as I said, because we want everything on paper. You know,
Correct.
as I explained to Interfluve, you know, the SWIP needs to be 100% in terms of the engineering for the dam removal and stream restoration. 100% engineered might not be possible, but we need to approach that.
okay. And when will I find out what y'all are gonna require as far as a performance bond? So I can start working on that?
That would be based on the estimated cost of construction.
And I won't know that until I go for bid.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
can
mean,
go to-
right now, we're estimating 1.8.
Yeah, I mean, if we're comfortable going off of an engineer's estimate,
Are you?
that's,
Okay.
I don't know, that's up to the bond, I mean, the board.
I mean, the bond could always be increased if need be.
But that really comes down to your contracting. I don't know how you're structuring, handling the construction contracts and, you know, the bidding documents and,
Right.
like, I don't know how formal.
Interfluve's doing all that.
Is it gonna go through a formal, full, like, New York State, like a standard engineering, bidding process?
Yes.
So like sealed bids and all that? Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's what they're doing. I told them I wanted at least 3 options,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, you can get there's certain engineering criteria and standards you can meet that will follow all of these guidelines. And, I mean, your bid manual will be pretty substantial. It'll be like 400, 500 pages.
Right,
That'll go into the contracting and bonding.
right, okay.
But with the, I think just so they don't lose sight of what's needed, when they do come in for the permits, maybe we summarize in a memo or email, you know, what we're looking for right off the bat, so that we're comfortable, so that way we don't kind of lose sight of where we stand
Yeah,
now.
that makes sense, that makes sense.
No surprises for anybody.
So we're talking about a qualified construction oversight manager. And that could be somebody from Interfluve that's overseeing your selected contractor, that's intimately involved with the project, that's the ideal situation. And then a filed SWIP with the town that's approved. And like Andy said, you can give us and then we'd want the 100% plans. And then, you know, we under the stormwater coverage, under the GCP and under the town SWIP guidelines, your contractors can go through their own methods and means as long as it's, you know, approved by your engineer. Once, if minor changes need to be made.
I believe our plans were 100% last week, so I can have them send you over the final plans if you
Yeah.
want, before the contractor looks at anything. So, okay.
And I guess we did not, I don't think we've shared yet, Cheryl, the technical memorandum that SLR put together today. So we'll get that to you and to Interflu.
Okay, that'd be
so that you
great.
have it. But it essentially agrees with everything that was done.
What it is?
You want to give her your copy?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll see where it goes online.
Okay.
Okay. If you,
So you'll send me an email outlining what we need to
Yes.
do,
yep,
and, okay,
What we'd anticipate for conditions of the permit.
of the permit. Okay, great,
so you'll have that way before you're putting this
before
out to
we're ready.
bid.
Okay. And then I will just, or Interflu will contact y'all to get back on the calendar, November, December then, and start doing the permitting.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great, thank you.
okay, thank you. You have any other business?
We're still working through the stormwater mapping. I've been trying to work with Ron to get a list of all the post-construction, stormwater practices that have been installed on properties throughout the town to be mapped. But then once that's done, we're pretty much there. And, I've been talking with the, consulting firm about taking this to, like, the next step with using this information. Not only does it put us in compliance with, the MS4, permit with the state, but we can now also use this mapping product and apply for another grant that the highway department can take advantage of to fund a street sweeping truck or a vac truck for Philipstown. So I think we'd be in a really good standing if we applied for that. So I've had preliminary discussions with them to approach the town board to authorize them to reapply for that grant, which should be a couple $1,000s just for their services to reapply. So that's a little bit down the road, but that's something that might be coming for you guys.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else really.
And we had looked at, what was it, Sunday, the violation on 17 Old Albany Post Road.
Yep.
And Max had come up with suggestions and will oversee the remediation work that'll be done. And I think that's what we have tonight. So with that, unless anybody has anything else,
I think you should read that again.
how'd I do?
You did pretty good.
I should have rehearsed it once, but that's
Better you
okay.
than me.
So with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.